I hope the mic and everything is going to be cool. I replugged and plugged it all back in the other day because we produce standing up, we listen to music standing up, we dance at clubs standing up, we DJ standing up. I want to produce standing up. Wait, the first thing I said was wrong. We don't produce standing up. Usually I produce sitting down, and then it's like, how do you know if you're in the flow or not? How do you know if you're listening with your feelings instead of just being hypercritical about your automation visually? If you stand up and take a step back off the screen, like I'm doing right now, put yourself in a space, you can be like, oh, this is how people are going to experience the music, and I can tell if I'm producing it right. So welcome to Track Feedback. It is Saturday, August 14th. We're going to go through three things: sound design, song structure, and the mix, which has to drop some bass. We want to hear a sound design that's original. We want to feel a song structure that takes us on a journey with a climax, build-ups, peaks, and drops. And when we find a track that works really well, we're going to talk about what's working in it. This is Trevor Perala with a submission today. I'm just turning it down because there's some vocals. So as soon as I get my live feed up, we're going to jump in and start talking about what's fun. That's a new development from just this month is instead of finding problems in tracks and describing what's wrong with them, sometimes I find tracks that are so good I can't even give feedback. So I look at what are they doing really well and how can I describe a recipe they're doing that you could do. This track's jamming. All right, here we go. All right, we got Jesper in here. We got Scott Burke, Todd Mavis, and Jesper again. So this first track is from Trevor Perala, who is an admin in the Ableton user group. I think Ableton Live Users is the name of the group. I hope I got that one right. And let me just let this roll. We're at 3 minutes and 29 right now. You know what? I'm going to start this over. You can feel the beat is good. The vocals are interesting. The track is grooving. We had a nice intro of the show having the track come in, but I'm going to just skip to the beginning of the track and let's hear what we get. That was a little LFO modulating amplitude that changed speed. The LFO changed speed. It was modulating, I think, amplitude, maybe frequency too. Gabriel Moraes, how you doing?
I've been waiting for so long.
Okay, vocal entry.
You don't know what you do to me. I've been waiting for so long.
I like those snaps.
You don't know what you do to me. Oh, you make me go crazy. Baby, don't you come to me.
The first thing I want to point out is that the voice has like a resonator or a really fast delay effect on it that's kind of buzzy.
You got me.
And then the drop comes in. Before we talk about what's going on in the drop, do you hear that vocal effect? How would you describe that? It's like a metallic delay or a resonator. And to me, I think that delay is a little too wet. How would you describe that vocal effect? Is that cool for you, or was that too like robotic? Because it's not all the way into being a vocoder. And the vocal is at the right level, nice compression, nice EQ, very clear, you can hear the words. Now it sounds more clear. Jesse! All right, so then we had the main hook of the song taking us into a breakdown. Todd, maybe double tracked with distortion. Yeah, and then when the vocals on top of the beats, it sounded nice and clear and felt good, so that was cool. Now we're at a long breakdown section. I can feel the side chaining still happening. There's like a gap in the synth. If you don't know about side chaining, that's a great example of what it does to everything else to make space for the kick drum. Let me just go back a little bit. There's like a hole in the beat. So if you don't know about side chaining, you put that on your synths to cut out volume just like this. And then the kick drum fills that hole and everything just gets right up in your face. David Fidel, sitting is for losers, ironing boards are not for clothing. I used to put my keyboard on an ironing board too. And you gotta watch out, because if you go too far on one hand and the nose of the board is like doesn't have the legs under it, you're like, All right, so we're at 2 minutes. I like the chord progression. Sound design is cool. The synths are kind of soft. Nice. Okay, we got the vocal coming back in with snaps. Okay, I had to turn my AC back on because I'm not going to make it up here. Scott Burke, maybe a parallel vocoder on the vocal. It could be something like that, yeah. Everything else about the track, I love it. I mean, it comes in nice. The vocal leads you to the drop. The claps come in. You get a little bit of a build-up. Let's just hear that one more time at 2:51. Thanks, Randy. When the vocal's happening, cut all the other beats right before the drop. Everybody hears what happens right before the drop. So if you got a vocal, cut everything else, let the vocal ride right out into your main brain, and then drop the beats. Melody, chord progression, bass line, beat, shaker, kick drum, snare. It's all good. All right, and what was the original comment from Trevor? Been away from producing the past month due to moving, but that's the last I'm working on. Last idea. Oh, rough mix and master. Cool. I don't know if anybody here is really into commercial music. The breakdown, I guess, is a little too long for like a radio song. The whole track is almost 4 minutes, about 4 minutes. So it's maybe a little too long in the middle section for like pop commercial stuff, but I don't know if anybody really cares about that. Yeah, Trevor, keep it going. Let's let that fade out. And we had a bunch of people drop links right under the announcement for today, so I want to play a bunch of those first. Randy Adams was on that post, so we're going to play Randy Adams, Holiday. By the way, give me a yes if the audio levels and voice levels are okay, and if the stream's all good. Oh, Jesse just said that before I even asked it. That's weird. Hey, Michael Huxley, how you doing? I'm going to check this in the speakers and make a little mod in the background. I'm in the flow, man, Randy. This is working. Nice deep vibes. Turn my headphones up. Gabor, no, this is not a new studio. I just put all my studio gear up, so I'm standing up and cleared out everything from the background. That's my rainbow carpet for my little dance space. Oh, I gotta change the title. Randy Adams Holiday. What do y'all think about the hi-hats? Do you think we need a little more high-end? As soon as I turned up the high shelf EQ, I felt that little snare drum hit come out a little bit better. 207 might be a good moment to cut the hi-hats. We got a little break coming in, beat coming back. Ooh, yes. All right, let me rewind that back to minute 57 and Ding. 2 minutes, cut a couple hi-hats, empty it out, let us ride with that organ and that bass sound. Or if you want to be filter housey, put a low pass filter on all the hi-hats, go in that breakdown, and then into the drop. I just undid my EQ boost. I love those reverse kick drum beats. It needs a little bit of some kind of high-end thing with the snare drum, or maybe just volume to get the snare up above it. Yeah, it is hot as balls in Pittsburgh right now, so sorry if there's air conditioner noise in the mic, but that change might have been a little bit abrupt at 3:02. But if you just made the track this morning, we're good. Keep the phone off. I like that reverb. Clink. All right, now this is a good proper breakdown. Nice and empty. Ooh, I like that. Yeah, this is a solid deep track. Finished this morning. So Randy, what stage are we at? Are you ready for a final mix? Is this a final mix, or is this ready for mastering, or what's your next step? Bass sounds nice. Oh, we get a vocal. Hey. Let me go back to one little thing. I like it when we can hear, I'm pausing here. I like it when we can hear the sub bass by itself and identify what the kick drum is doing, what the sub bass is doing. So let's listen to this little part where the voice is coming in. Check the sub. Okay, gonna do some tweaking. Yeah, I think you could use a little bit of a lift on the hi-hats and the snare drum in the opening of the track. Those first layers didn't come in. They didn't indicate that what the track was gonna do, you know? The kick drum is definitely solid. The sub bass is a little bit buried under the kick drum, so I don't really quite get the pitch of the bass line. It doesn't really feel like it's a bass line track, but it does have a nice low end rhythm. Who's watching? Who has a comment on this one? I got the hi-hat idea, and okay, we're coming out to 5:52. Ending. Is that some erosion distortion on the synth? I like that delay on the ending. What's that little effect you were using? It sounds like it might be erosion. So now we're back at the opening. I just want to catch that one time. 2 minutes. Cut the hi-hats at 2 minutes for that little 8-bar break, or possibly do a low-pass filter sweep coming down and then filter it back up, leading to the drop. I think that would help that section a lot. It's That's not a problem with the section, but it'll just make it better. And those two little cymbals go. That's great. All right, Scott Burke, add some more shine and high end to the main synth organ. When I boosted the highs for the hi-hats, it brightened up that lead nicely. Let me try that in section 1. So here's where I did some high end. So that's like a high end boost and a little bit of a mid-range boost, which if we were cooking, that would be like me dumping salt on top and saying, there, I fixed it. Because everybody likes when he puts a little more salt on food. But yeah, Randy, this track is sounding great, man. Low end is in pretty good shape. The mix is cool. The song form is cool. Cut those hi-hats. Do a little bit of high shelf EQ on the beat or tweak something like that. And I think you're good to go. Todd Mavis agrees. So we did Trevor. Okay, Mr. Melvis. Who is the producer, Mr. Melvis, with New Bloodlust Vengeance? These are when people drop comments and the producer name is different from their Facebook name. So I'm going to play this track and type in who it is, and then I want you to tell me who this is. We got a rock jam, wow. Ryan, yeah, put it under the track feedback post that's pinned to the top of the group as a comment. And later I'll ask who's watching and ask where the link is. What is going on with this track? New Bloodlust Vengeance Mix version 2, August 12, 21. Okay, here comes the volume. This sounds like a live recording. Oh, this is Todd Mavis. Gotcha. Okay, the guitars are sounding good. Is this all acoustic drums, or how did you do the drums on this? Okay, I'm gonna wind this down. Trevor, how you doing? We played your track first. Let me go back to the intro on this thing and see what we get. Okay, here's the guitars coming in. Feels like there's too much low end in that guitar. And then we got bass and kick drum happening. So I'm gonna use some sound man skills on this one. Everything is sequenced in Easy Drummer, okay. That guitar needs to live around 2,500 hertz. You could cut a lot of the low end out of the guitar to make space for the bass line. Cymbals are bright. Snare drum's okay, it could be louder for this genre. Kick drum is a little bit too thumpy. I would high pass filter the kick drum up a little bit to make more space for the bass line, bass guitar. It's a lot of the same stuff I say for electronic music. And definitely I would get the drum kit into a stereo group and do some hard compression with a slow attack time so you get that pop on the front of all the drum hits. And if you could spread the guitars wider in the stereo field and aim to separate your guitars in layers. So if you think of like the multiple guitars as like synths, try to have your lead guitar really like scratchy up high, above 2000, and then the chord like rhythm guitar or the person playing like the chugs, have that in the mid-range and slightly off to the side. So we get some separation. Whoa. Yeah, it needs some mix work, but the sounds feel like they're pretty good. So tell me in the chat, what's the collaboration? Are you doing only the electronic part, or are you playing guitars on this, or what's going on? I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. And we're going to move on to another track. I'm going to try and do a lot of tracks today. So Trevor, we played Paul Osborne. Paul, you watching right now? Who is... I also like to play tracks from people who are watching. So next person to comment, I'll look up your track. And we got Paul Osborne right there. And video froze. Guitars are riff indium. Let's go to Short Axe, Bad Habits.
Every time you come around, you know I can't say no. Every time the sun goes down, I let you take control. I can feel the paradise before my world implodes. And tonight had something wonderful.
Okay, what's gonna drop first?
Bad habits lead to late nights, sitting alone. Conversations with a stranger I barely know. Swearing this will be the last, but it probably won't. I got nothing left to lose.
I like that kick drum. Okay, this is Ben Olsen, the first track of the week. Once again, the hook ends and goes to a breakdown. Tripac de la Bass. I remember you a couple of years ago. How you doing? Nice to see you.
Every pure intention ends when the good times start. Falling over everything to reach the first time spark. It started on the neon lights and then it all got dark. I only know how to go too far.
Is that harmonizing on the vocals? That low end is nice and grimy. Good, I was waiting for the hi-hat to come in right there. Yeah, there's space in the mix, Gabor. Low intensity and high intensity parts. Got that snare drum before the drop and then the clap comes in. The hi-hat and the snare could be a little louder. That closed hi-hat is a little, like, small. Yeah, the bass line's nice and solid. Kick drum's good. High end a little messy. Tri-pack. Yeah, the synth overlaps the vocal a little bit. We're at 320. Still interesting. I'm like almost singing along like da, 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 da.
And I know I lose control of the things I say. I was looking for a way out, now I can't escape. Nothing happens after two. It's true, my bad habits lead to you.
Okay. The ending of the track confused me a little bit. Here we are at 335, riser, beat. I'm waiting for a snare drum and a hi-hat, but we get a vocal. Right at that build-up, we're only 3.5 minutes into the track, and for a house beat, I'm ready for another section to drop in with a new percussion layer, like a bigger snare drum. So we got the kick drum, the open hi-hat, maybe the ride cymbal, another snare drum layer, or like something really like dropping right there. Instead, we get a vocal by itself that goes to an ending. So I'm going to call that two problems. Problem number one is we didn't get the beat. And then problem number two, for an ending of the track, with this style of track to end with the vocal only, I mean, you could mix out from that, but it feels like misleading, you know, because when you hear that vocal by itself, you think it's a breakdown. You're waiting for the beat after the vocal. So I need another good 1.5 minutes on this track. Please drop another beat. Give us another fat section of beats and bass line with like one new drum layer to extend the song a little bit longer, because it just stops too soon. We want more, and it's kind of a deceptive ending. I really like how you get to the drops. I'm going to go back through a couple sections. Here is 105. So bad habits lead to you, and then there's a drop on that word. Here we are at the end of 136. Bad habits lead to you. On the word you, go into a breakdown. Let's check the build up after this break section. 220. 231. Bad habits lead to you, and we get a drop. Trevor, Melbourne bounce. I don't know about Melbourne bounce, man. What are they doing down there? Mix-wise, I don't have any real problems. Somebody said a comment about the high end and the synths in here. Around 3 minutes, maybe the high melody synth thing could get a little bit like EQ'd down in the high mids, but I don't hear that as a problem. Yeah, good track. I could sit in this track and groove, but I want to get through a bunch of people. So we're going to move on to Canada. Scott Burke, they told me, change the name. I like that synth. I like that. Do I look like Mr. Burns when I'm typing? Those shakers are so nice and wide. And that hand drum thing. Okay. Minute 14, timing. Something rhythmically is like not lining up quite yet. That synth is like, go. And the hand percussions. I'm waiting to see how this comes together. Yeah, when the kick drum comes in, the timing of the hand drums and stuff makes more sense. But at the beginning, let me just roll back a little bit, around minute 14. Okay, at 49 seconds, before that buzz, we're in the groove. It's like, dum, dum, dun, 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 and the shaker's like, right, chicka, 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 chicka. When that buzzy synth comes in, like minute 15, it's like, It's kind of pulling ahead of the beat. So that bass line modulation is like ahead of the beat and the hand drums are kind of behind the beat. Yeah, LFO sync. It's hard to swing an LFO. That takes a little work, but one thing you could do is maybe just have that bass fade in without that pulse until the kick drum drops. Well, let's keep going. See what we got. We're at 2 minutes right now. Or like with sound toys, you can choose the waveform of the LFO and shift the phase of it, like the duty phase, to get pulses that are more rhythmic. I don't know what you're using for it. I like this part, 221. I'm not sure what the people are saying, but it sounds like a conversation. Like, all right, we got a 6-minute track. Scott Burke is known for shifting to another dimension in the music, so let's see where we're gonna go. And it kind of sounds like a bell. Very clear sound design. Each sound is nice and like in its own space. That's really good. $3.15. What is that white noise doing? Yeah, this part is cool, all right by itself at 3-4 minutes right here. Oh, I like how it's building up. I like it. I like it. Nice drop. Now the groove is like totally locked in, and that bass pulse works really well. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And it goes deep. That's a deep note. Jesper, there is a download button. And the shaker comes back in. This is cool, man. Scott, it's getting better and better as we go through. We're at 5 minutes right now. Yeah, something with the congas in the intro. And again, the intro is about expectations, you know, like if we have the expectations are really important. So the first sounds that we hear in a track, people just expect that's going to be like a really important part that stays there. Right here, 525, maybe you could keep the congas out until here, because at this point, now it's like an extra bonus element that makes the ending of the track fun. Hey, Ben Olson, we just played your track right before this, man. Aha, the bell comes back. 550. And this is what I like, a nice ending section. Bass, beat, not even any bass, just the beat. Nice and clean. What are these people saying? And we're going to take it out at 640, so I am going to hit the play repeat switch. That's the way you do the ending, where you have a chunk of beats that goes for like 16 measures. You could have the last sound in the track be the vocal sample that just goes into a reverb and echo, but you can't have the solo vocal fade out without a chunk of beats to tell you that the song is ending, in my opinion. Let's run through the intro again, partly because I like kick drums in my brain, but where are those congas here? Here's 30 seconds. Okay, so at 32, the way these congas come in is so loud and so prominent and dominant that it's like you're expecting this to be a main element of the groove, but the groove we get is this. So I'd say a minute 40 at this drop at 136. You don't need the congas in the whole beginning of the song. They sound really good, but you don't totally need it. So I think you could cut those, and all the way through, everything else was legit until here we are at 5:0 whatever. .520, when the conga comes in at 5:20, that's great because it adds another fun thing to the beat to keep it interesting after we've heard a lot of what's going to happen. And I would personally go to 6:02. Keep the congas in here because that'll give you something to mix out with kick drum, hi-hat, and the congas, and then do like some dub delay with a long delay, throw the congas into the delay, and then mute the original dry so the conga is like delaying on top of the beat. That's how I would use that. So just cut the congas at the beginning. Everything else, I don't think I have any mixed notes. The track felt great. Everything was in the groove. Scott Burke thinks it's done. Yeah, cool track, man. You've been making some great music lately, and it always goes through interesting phases. So up next, I'm going to play Peter May, and I know people are watching who posted tracks, so give a shout if you're watching right now, and let me know, because I'll play your track and find it. Peter May, Dread for ya. Yo, we're going up tempo right now. I gotta start beat matching my freaking track feedback. Ahaha, drum breaks in a drop. This is Peter Majewski in the group, or Peter May on SoundCloud. I like those drum breaks. I love this standing setup because I can just instantly move to the perfect balanced left-right position with no thought. What just happened harmonically? We went into a breakdown on a chord change. Oof. And I was going to make some mixed notes on the opening part. But where are we now? Epic. All right, this is all nicely mixed so far. 252. Harp bass line coming back in. Is this the original chord progression coming back? Does anybody remember? Okay, that bass impact at 322 could have been bigger. Now it's a little high range. You gotta watch those highs. put in a high frequency dip. We need Boda Rev to comment on this one with the long 7-minute tracks. And the snare drum build, okay. We got a little overdone it on the high end. Ooh. Good build up, good drop. So I just took down the high end and a little bit out of the mid-range. Good pulse on the low end. I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm feeling like the kick drum needs to be a little bit bigger and the bass line a little bit less. Because for trance, you need that kick drum to be like capable of splitting the actual floor you're standing on, like doof. And the bass line is very powerful in this one. That's a little bit almost like too big for the kick. Maybe, I could be wrong, but I might change that relationship a little bit. Taylor Lily, what are you doing here? With the Cosmos. And again, that's a hard thing to work with depending on your room, your acoustics, your monitors, your system. What you hear coming out when you're producing your low end might not be what we hear. Split the Cosmos, yeah. Okay, so we're at 6 minutes into the ending. I'm gonna skip ahead to see where we fade out. 6:05, check that out. I love the drum breaks right there. Those could be a little bit louder. And we got the outro. Tweaking some filters. All right, nice ending. That's the way to take that out. I want to go back to in the build up around 325. Watch out for your high frequencies getting overblown. There's like a swishy kind of static layer in the synths that's a little bit too loud, and then the mid-range from 3000 hertz, like 3K, 4K. Get a notch EQ or a dip out, some frequencies in there, or some dB in that frequency range, because that buildup was a little bit ear-piercing. Where was that impact? .348. That was a good bass impact. That could be even bigger. Yeah, Trevor, we need some mixed feedback. And I want to see if I can find the bass line by itself. Here's where we get kick drum and bass. I'm skipping through. There it is, okay. 349. Here's the bass line by itself. And the question is, when the kick drum hits, does the kick drum come out hugely evident through that bass? Let's go through this build-up one more time. Taking you on the roller coaster. I mean, it definitely does drop. You want to watch out for kick drum rolls 402. Okay, so at like a 405, that build up, we've got the sub bass pulsing on the upbeats going like, and then you have some kick drum bumps doing rolls like, that low end is getting mushy and crowded, and at the same time, your high frequency in that build up section was getting overlapping and crowded. So you got a couple too many elements at the same time in too many frequency ranges, which is a good problem to have because you have good quality sounds, they're working together, the structure is working, everything's cool. But in that build-up section, what I would do right around 4 minutes is don't let the kick drum have the full bottom range. Like either cut the sub bass so the kick drum has clear individual hits rhythmically. It's all about rhythm, right? So you want the kick drum to be like doof, 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 doof. That has to be clear. So if you want those kick drums to be clear, don't have the sub bass in that section. Or if you want to have the rhythm of that snare drum thing, or of the rolls and build up, then cut the low end out of the kick drum and just let the impact of like the click on it be the rhythm thing, like tick, 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 tick. And I talked about high frequency already. So there we go on that one. Taylor Lilly says, carving out space in a wall of sound like that is painstaking work. It is. You have to make some decisions and prioritize what you're going to do and make it happen. So that can be tricky. Who is watching? I want to play tracks from people who are here. And I'm not sure from the tracks that got submitted who's actually watching. Complicated by, I don't always know your producer name, but I do know David Fidel. So track called Labs Saturday. Here we go. This is great. I don't even want to talk over it. Okay, the mid-range on those synths vocal thing is a little bit too much. Just a little bit. All right, so I'm boosting up the lows a little bit, and I'm definitely cutting out that high mid-range because that was peaking a little bit too loud. But this is beautiful music. Yeah, meditation music. Bingo. Okay, it's really hard to talk over this one. David, you're on the edge of overpowering your piano part. So the synths, when I was saying the synths felt like they were too loud, at the same time as that, the piano was getting pushed farther and farther into the background. Now it's coming more out to the front. But I think if you really think of keeping the piano as a prominent instrument, like way out front, there is tons of space for the low end synth to support the piano. Let's go back to the beginning. So it comes in with these. Actually, the piano doesn't come in first. Okay. What I'm saying is I wanted to feel more of the piano out, like almost as if this was an acoustic piano recording that was supplemented with a little bit of electronic bass and a little bit of atmospheric synth around it. So I'm thinking of a mixed picture where the piano is like up here and the synths are kind of around it a little bit, instead of having like a shrill synth up in the front with piano surrounding that. Like, don't let your piano get pushed too far in the background because the piano is such a strong part of the track. And if you fix that volume thing of having piano a little louder and these synths a little lower, with a little bit of EQ on the synths from like 3,000 to 6,000 hertz somewhere, dip out a little parametric EQ dip, it's done. It's beautiful. It sounds great. I feel like a jerk talking on top of it. Let us calm our minds. And the structure and the flow and everything is super cool. So the piano didn't exist until the end. I feel like I hear it right now at minute 13. It feels like there's a little inner voice piano line happening. Let me skip ahead. Here's 240, 330, 4 minutes, 438, and 5 minutes. Wow. I guess I hallucinated that because I knew it was you and I thought there was a piano in there. Well, yeah, the piano is beautiful. I think you could have a like one note piano middle voice going through it that's paralleling one of the synth lines, like do 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 do, something like that. And let me know if it makes sense what I said about EQing the synth group or the synth layers, because that's really all you need on this track. The low end is great, the flow is great, song form is cool, and it's like going to a meaningful direction. Super cool. Peter May, hey, how you doing? A little bit late. We just played your track right before this one. Everybody's coming in like right after we play their track. So now we're gonna play Jesper. And David, okay, there's also about 10 layers of piano behind that you can hardly hear. Is that all the way through or is that at the ending? You tricky bunny. Yeah, man, your piano work is so good. Just make sure the synths don't overpower the piano. Pull up the piano. And when you have a lot of instruments that are in the same frequency range, in your case, it's really nice that they blend together and become like one sound. That's really good. But you might want to go to each track and do a slight EQ dip at the same frequency on all of them so that those mid-ranges don't add up. Or you could group all your mid-range instruments and EQ the group, or you could even do it on the master track. But in some way, don't let those mid-range peaky frequencies add up on every instrument till it becomes kind of like too much in the mids. All the way through. Okay, time for Jesper. This is a track from Tenka called Save Us, and let me put in the title first, because if I forget, it looks bad. Tenka. I love this idea of having the track name at the top of the playback. That makes it super cool. Watch the noise floor go away. Okay, Trevor, that's a really cool question. The question is, does it make a difference EQing an individual channel or EQing a group? Or would you recommend doing both? What I recommend for a general rule is do my EQ cuts on the individual level and EQ boosting on the group level. And then when you get to the group level, you might need to do an additional cut because things stack up too much. But generally, cut in solo, cut individual tracks, boost in the group. Okay, I think I'm getting an idea of the theme for this week. Every week we run into a theme accidentally, and this week's theme is going to be about EQing the high, the high mids. 215. I love this drop. Let me just go back a couple seconds in that nice big build up. 138. We're getting that high mid thing again. That S sound you have to watch out for. Now here we are, 2 minutes in. Nice big and clean bottom. All right, I was waiting for something to happen. That hi-hat could be louder. Jesper, do you have the project file for this track, or is this another old track? All right, Todd, see you later, man. I didn't see your comment. I just thought that thought when you were typing it. That was weird. Jesper, telepathy. This is good. This is a great example of a bass sound that's not actually in the sub bass. That bass pluck thing. So we got a kick drum, a low sub, and a pluck bass that combined together to make the low end with the rhythm. That works really well. Get my 6 a.m. psytrance groove on. That's what people look like with the beer in their hand. Okay, these sounds 421. I like it. I think you could have used some of these sounds a little bit earlier. Really good sound design. Oh my God. 449. So interesting, so many things going on. Heading into the triplets. Unfortunately, this track is going to get cut off, everybody, so prepare yourself. I love it. And it just cut itself off, which is not an ending.
Let me tell you about my son, Noah.
Oh my gosh, we just hit an ad. So, okay, here's a hot tip. If you want to do that triplet thing in your production, I learned this from my old piano teacher, Uli Geisendorfer, who played with Groove Collective, which was an awesome 90s acid jazz band. It's such a dumb trick, but you can just say the word triplet. You say it like this, triplet, triplet. So boom, boom, triplet, 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 triplet. If you can say that word, triplet, like that, along with your beat, it's going to sound good. And Jesper's the master of bad endings. Let's see, since we have a minute during a SoundCloud ad, I want to go to screen share and jump over to the Mix Detection member site. Every week, I like to talk a little bit about where you can get some help with your production. So here's some things you can do right away. Click into the free presets and sign up with just your name and your email address to get access to a bunch of Ableton presets for Live 9, 10, and 11. There's some resources for raw beginners if you need to know where to download Live or how to install presets or anything like that. And then there's some bass instruments, synths, drum racks that come with sounds, and effects racks, which are really cool to drop on return tracks and use your send knobs to send up effects into them. And then in the mix tools, we've got like vocal processing, master channel, sidechain tools, things that are like channel strips, like basic, like the effects racks that I use on every track in the mix when I'm doing my EQing or EQ cuts or high pass filter stuff. So grab some free presets. They're fun to play with and they're totally free. Also, I make a completely revolutionary kind of tutorial called Session Lessons where you learn by doing it inside Live. That means you download a guided Live pack that opens up with instructions inside, little audio clips that tell you what to do. There are automations showing you examples of what to do. And then there are hands-on activities where you actually get to tweak the knobs and play with stuff right inside Live. And that's the way I teach. I like making tutorials, but nobody really wants to watch a video. What you want to do is play with sound in Live. So I recorded the tutorial inside Ableton so you can learn by doing it, which is the most fun way. It's the best way. It's the most effective way. It makes it stick in your head. And Session Lessons make you make music. If you don't believe me, download the free one. It's called Intro to Session Lessons. You can grab it and play with it. Taylor Lilly, this is way better than what SoundCloud was playing. Are you sick of being bored with your life? Go to Mixtexture. And the newest course I just launched is called Gain Staging Strategy for Bass Mixes. This is how you mix. Gain staging is all about measuring and adjusting the level of every sound in your mix, every place it touches, which might sound like a lot of places because if you got 20 tracks and 5 plugins on each one, suddenly that's 100 places you have to measure your gain. Well, you don't want to leave it till the end. What you do is you make it part of your workflow from the beginning of when you first bring a sound into the mix. You measure it, and if you need to adjust it, you do. And then as you add any other devices, it becomes part of your workflow, just like using your turn signal. You use it while you're driving. You don't wait till you get there and then use it on and off and off. So you adjust everything as you're going through the session to end up with a stereo mix that sounds super wide and crisp, where you can hear the highs, you can hear the mids, the center is focused, and the low end is tight and heavy and deep. And the way to get there is by measuring your sounds and leaving yourself headroom. That way, when you get to the end of your mix and you're listening to your track and you're like, oh, my kick drum's not loud enough, well, if you approach it with the right amount of headroom, you can simply turn up your kick drum like you want to and make it sound good instead of having your mix all jacked up into the red on every channel, and you get to the master channel and you're trying to clamp it back down with a limiter, and your kick drum's, of course, not loud enough, so you push it up more, and it gets even more squashed to death, and it sounds like crap, and you don't feel good. That's the wrong way to mix. That's the way I mixed for like years before I actually learned how to back off on the channel pressure and raise the master channel later during mastering. So the big secret here is that you don't get loudness by pushing up the channels in your mix. You get loudness from having a balanced mix with headroom and dynamic range. So the kick drums are pushing air. There's like a pulse in the actual waveform. Then at the mastering phase, you can take that waveform, easily make it louder to be a commercial level track. That's what gain staging is all about. I just told you how to do it. But this course, this course is great because you do hands-on lessons in all these things. So gain staging with tracks, you learn about measuring the level and setting the input level. Mixing, we make a stereo mix. I'm pointing at the modules on the right side of the screen. We work with mixing with groups and effects. So all this stuff about EQing channels and groups, we do that in this course. You have a stereo drums group, a stereo synth group. We apply compression and EQ on the individual channels and on the groups, and you learn by doing it what's the difference between those two places. Finally, in Module 4, we do mixing with bus groups and effects, where you make containers for like your whole mono-low group all in one place, all your stereo drums all in the same place. That might not make sense when I'm describing it, but if you're working on a big project with multiple drum racks, for example, you end up with a stereo mix of all your drums, and then that goes to the master. It's basically giving you a way to take a big project, break it down into small pieces, and learn how to mix and make a great stereo mix with the groups and the master to end up with a track that's never out of control. For an example of how powerful this is, one time I was doing a show where we didn't have a big enough mixing board for all the bands, so I had two 8-channel mixers. One mixer was like vocal mics and horns. The other mixer was drums and bass and keyboards. And I had to take one mixer, make a stereo mix of all the voices, put it into the other mixer, and have the other one go out to the house sound system. And some other sound guys showed up, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Dude, I need more channels." So I just like jacked in this other mixer. And normally that would be like a nightmare of noise and feedback and bad sound. But since I knew gain staging, I was able to make one stereo mix in one place, keep it in shape, pass it on to the next mixing board, and it was no problem. So that's what you get to do when you learn gain staging, and you should buy this course and learn it so you can make tracks that sound good also. And hopefully SoundCloud's done. Oh my God. Wow, I forgot what track this is. Time to rewind. What? No. We were listening to Tenka. Oh, I didn't give you feedback on the Tenka track, right? Let's go back. Okay, so we were talking about the theme of the day being high frequencies. So this is a Tenka track called Save Us. Back to 1:35, we're going into the build-up. This is where the high end and mid-range got a little bit like, whoa.
So look up and shout. Save us, save us.
Yeah, so on the sample where it says Save Us, 10K, 12K, 7 kilohertz, that high S kind of stuff needs to be EQ'd down a little bit, especially because this track, people are going to be playing this on a big sound system. Those high tweeters are going to go, and you don't want that going in your ear at close range. Jesper, all your tracks have such a great, big, clean, low end. What I really want to point out, for the song form on this one, we're at 2 minutes. This feels like a holding pattern. I'm like, waiting. So one idea I was thinking is later on, here we are at 4:18. There's a melodic pluck, like a guitar kind of thing coming in. I think you could use that earlier. So back at 2:20, 3 minutes or something. And this goes in general for anybody making a track. If you have a place that's only bass and beats, that's kind of towards the beginning of the first drop, it really needs like a melody on top in this situation to let you know that things are happening. Because this section was sort of like a long minute where not a lot was going on. And then we get to 2:49. And now it's like a proper drop with more percussion and stuff. So that beginning section was a little bit light in the action. It could use one more melody instrument or something happening. Other than that, the track was awesome until we got dropped off a cliff at the ending. Going into the triplets, triplet, 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 triplet. And the song ended, and there wasn't a whole lot left. So who else is here that has a track to play? I want to play some more music. It's only 12:12. And I'm not sure. Is Matt Schultz here with us? Oh, Taylor calls it treading water. Yeah, I call it a holding pattern, like an airplane that's circling, waiting to land or something. But treading water is like, yeah, you're not drowning, nothing's wrong, but you're not really going anywhere. Type in, let me know right now if you're watching and you have a track for me to play. We got a bunch of tracks in, and I really like to play music from people who are here. Matt Schultz, I just saw yours, so Matt Schultz track called Hope. Okay, I'm gonna bring this up. There we go. I'm just enjoying this track right now. Three minutes. That always has a great atmospheric world around the track with a little bit of background noise. That's actually not my mic noise this time. And we're into a breakdown of space. I would cut the rim shot right here. Don't need it. Yeah, we want to float on that synth without the rim shot. Or I do. Great synth parts. That bass. Matt Schultz gets the Woob Award. Such a subtle build-up and a really cool way to bring the beat back. My only comment so far was to cut that snare tap at 345 and 510. Nice, coming in with that hi-hat. Great vibes. Matt, what are you doing for the delay on that synth? There's a stereo action happening. Super nice. And also the tone of the kick drum is so nice and soft compared to that sub woob thing. They're both like whoop, 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 whoop. They're very similar. The kick drum and the bass bump are like almost the same sound, so it's really like yeah, it sounds a little bit like Pan Man. Good stuff, Matt Schultz. Six and a half minutes into it, I'm just like in the bathtub. You know what might be fun is to put a spring reverb in here somewhere, and once in a while have that snare tap go up into a spring reverb. Ah, now the ending is like the beginning. Ambient noise. Ooh, Matt Schultz dropping bombs. Simple ping pong delay, but the synth is a pad. I automated the cutoff to open and close very quickly, and that's creating the delay space. Dang. Automated filter cutoffs with delay. Put that in your little book of tricks. What's the found sound ambient background on this one? Right here. Is that water running? Is this called Matt Schultz Goes to the Park? I want to hear the very beginning here. You could loop this track and it would just go for an hour and you wouldn't know where the beginning or the ending is. It's really good. The only thing I could say was coming in here at 349. Just cut that snare tap. Nobody needs it. You don't need it. And then around here, around 5 minutes, I want to just hear that place where you have the automated filter. Gabor. All right, Gabor, gotcha. Let me pull up your track. Matt recording rain while you were sleeping. Matt Schultz making tracks in his sleep. Get out of here. Ryan, I don't know where your track is. I looked for it and I didn't see it. So tell me if it's where it is, because I didn't quite see it. All right, Matt Schultz, great track. I gave you the comments on the snare taps. Really amazing sound design and everything. Your tracks all have a good feel. We're gonna go to right, Gabor Farkas. I have a hard time with people when the producer name is not their Facebook name, because this is Nova and Hyperspace coming from Gabor. Okay, Steve just officially ran out of record. Let me restart that. I got to rework how we send in tracks because when people are submitting tracks in too many places, this is what happens, and I get confused trying to find them. Also, seriously, if your producer name is different from your Facebook name, just change one of them or the other one or something, because it's really hard to pull up a bunch of tabs and remember which one is which person in which order and what they're coming from. So Nova N, hyperspace. And that comment about the track feedback was for Jesse. I want to play your track, but I can't get to it from the live feed because it's on a different machine. All right, this track feels a little bit simple. So there's a basic, bass line, kick drum beat, good reverb on the snare, but there's space in here for another part that could be like another drum loop or something rhythmically needs to change because we have this part that's going like this, okay? Actually, I could use a bass line. The main synth is up here, the kick drum's at the bottom. There's some space in the low end for a bass. It's like doo-doo-doo-doo or something in between that. So how old is this track? Is this a new creation or is it like and then into the breakdown? Usually a track that's less than 3 minutes is like a new sketch idea. So at the beginning part, see if you could add a bass line. This synth is cool, but there's space for a low end bass or a sub element underneath that goes like in between the kick drum or surrounds the kick drum or something. And at this point, we could use some kind of something that's building up like a riser or like a sound that's changing to indicate that we're coming back towards another drop. That was good with a little reverse crash, but something... This is good. There's a filter changing on the synth. Overall, this one just needs some more development. So if you could bring this back next week with maybe add a bass line and one more percussion layer to build it out a little bit more. And also, I got caught by surprise because I wasn't ready for the track to end. So we need some more length on it. And it ends. So that's a sketch track, I guess. That's a pretty new one. Develop it some more, put in a bass line, and in the first section between from 30 seconds out to a minute and 30, there is some space to develop some more things because it kind of stayed the same. So if you could like count 8 bars and add a new element, or like maybe cut one of the elements from the first entrance of the beat, wait 16 bars, and then bring that element in, like a percussion layer or something. Kind of develop it so things change over time. Gabor, oh, you said I wanted to keep it as simple as possible because I tend to overcomplicate my ideas. Well, that's really good. I mean, that's a good strategy to do, but don't go too far where the track feels empty. And I was also a little confused because it ended so quickly. So this one definitely has enough of a vibe to be a 4-minute long or 5-minute long track, but it needs a little bit more of a bass line and have the drum layers progress and change and stuff, and then it'll get there. So it's about 12:30. Who is Third Person Diamonds? Is that Ryan? Here we go.
Diamonds on my wrist, 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 diamonds on my wrist,
Damn! I don't know how that could be sped up. I'm playing it from SoundCloud. And TriPack, You can say the mix and master need work, or you can say I would do something different, but don't say the mix and master sucks, because that doesn't tell anybody what to do with it, and it kind of sounds like just like, okay. So make a positive suggestion if you're gonna say something. Ryan, is this sped up? I don't know. Cuckoo. Oh, it's definitely not this fast. Did you export it at like 48K and then it's like converted to 44 by SoundCloud? Well, that would slow it down though. I don't know. All right, Trevor, diaper duty, man. Gotta watch that shit. Trevor, remember it'd be like Cypress Hill. When the shit goes down, you better be ready. Okay, I don't know what's going on with the stream. I'm sorry if the speed is jumping. I'm not sure what I can do about that. This track is fun as shit, though. That bass. Skank chords. That little, like, that could be louder. Yeah, that bass is nice. Was that, wait a minute, was that Ice Cubes in a Glass right here? 242? That sounds like somebody tinkling ice cubes in a glass. Cool sound. That bass is so ill, man. That's fun. It's starting to feel a little bit empty right now. I could still use some hi-hat, like, you know, little like rolls and stuff. And we're getting out to the ending. Let me just go through by minute here. There's the hi-hat rolls. Really good sounds. Those little hi-hats could be louder. And that actual hi-hat roll could be louder and like sharper, like more piercing. So a little like boost at 6K or something. Because the claps are really prominent, so the hi-hat has to keep up with it. Love the skank chords, bass line. This feels like a dub track more than dubstep, it kind of. I love the sounds that are going on. This is great. Yeah, much more on the dub side than the step side. I like that tick-tock clock sound. Right now I'm just listening and trying to identify all the different sounds. And looking for... All right, cool. Ian Waters, hey. So I had the hi-hat comment. Really, the sound design is super strong on this, and for a song structure, towards the end of the song, it feels like we could use some like amped up percussion because it feels like a little bit flat, like kind of like slow at this part. So maybe if the skanks came back, like the guitar skanks came back, or if there was like a more like steady percussion part to keep us going. So cool track, man. Sound design is the strength of that one. Song form needs a little development towards the end to stay interesting. And the mix was pretty good. Little comment on the hi-hat. I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon. I got Gabriel Moraes, right? Yes. With, I believe it's going to be some tech house. And Jesse, I cannot play your link because it's not in the right place. So please put it under the original track feedback post that's at the top of the group. Just put it in the comments under there. Because when you comment on the live stream, the streaming computer doesn't, I can't refresh the streaming computer to get the link. So that's what it is.
If you like the rhythm, if you like the blues, the beat that makes you move. If you can't give up, if you can't move on, let go with the music, let the movement bring you along. It's been a long, long time in an unknown space, the place where we united under one bass, under one treble, under me sensei. Everybody knows that we be rebels. Follow your senses to higher levels.
Man, this is a great, great sketch. What do we got? Cheerios and caipirinhas today. Okay. That bass line is fun, man. I like the vocal. It feels like inspiring. It's good for the vibe for this style of music. All right, going up. That riser could be a little louder. Ooh, that's a cool sound. Scott Burke, check the congas out in here. Got a little conga pattern this week. That hi-hat makes it so good. Jesse, yeah, I got your link now. This part is awesome. Gabrielle, I would listen to it just like this. Bassline, kick drum, hi-hat, snare. You can make a lot of good music with just those four things. Ian Waters wants to buy this on 33 so he could play it on 45. Bass line is so good. Hi-hat pattern, snare good. Yeah, percussion, the conga part I liked a lot earlier. All right, 3 minutes. I can hear how it's like not developed yet, totally built out. I want to point out one thing that I liked so much. We're back at a minute, 12, 15. This high frequency sound came in. It was like, woo, woo, woo. Where was that? Okay, minute 30, this riser could be louder. This. That should happen more often. That could be like 8 bars of that as a melody just looping. it was cool. Like, and also that only happens once in the track. Not enough. I need a lot more of that sound right here. Keep that going because it's hypnotic. What I would totally do is take that sound, keep that pattern going, and filter the shit out of it. Have a filter like a bandpass filter. It's going down and up slowly. So the melody's going like, then you have like the filter going down and up. Or you could do a filter that's like, and track the melody line with the bandpass filter and crank the resonance. So you're kind of like doing it like this. You could do a lot with that sound. And the delay on there, yeah. Tell me if you understand what I mean about looping that melody, because that would make it super cool. And the vocal sample's cool. I think this hi-hat could be a little louder. So the mix needs a little work, but I think those are enough tips. You said it's a sketch, so you got an idea. You got an idea what to do. Jesse, bringing us home today with Kimono Breeze, Splurge. Here we go. That's what we're looking at with Kimono Breeze. We got the leopard or tiger sunglasses. Gaze into the eye of the tiger. All right. I tell Jesse the same thing every time. Your tracks are so ready for like an 80s vocalist on there. Got the busy drum beat happening and synth parts, bass line. Okay, this is a few too many beats for me right here. I'm gonna pause and go back. We're in a cool breakbeat pattern here, right here. Minute 12, right? Boom ka, boom ka, boom ka. That's awesome. But then it right away changes into a dubstep pattern, but the mix is not kicking us with bass the way dubstep should be doing. So if you played this just right here for dubstep people, they'd be like, whoa, not right. So I get the reference, but for me, I think it's too soon in the music to shift to that drum pattern. And the synth parts are so cool, and you have such this like synthwave thing going on. I would seriously cut the beats and not have any drums right after a minute 15. Let's just check out what happens. Just imagine that's no drums. You have melody chords, lead, and bass line in a breakdown. You don't need a drum beat right now, I think. Now we get a little build up right here. And then have kind of like a drop. So what I'm saying is there's no definition between the different sections. And when it comes back in right at a minute 40, it doesn't quite feel like a drop because we had all those drum beats in the middle section. So make some distinction between the sections. I think it'd work better. The beats are always really happy, like a happy feel. Kind of makes me want to drive too fast with the windows open. Really nice stereo width on the synth. Feeling it like. Matt Schultz wants a whoops up bass. Now at this part, maybe you could have that second drum break because we already knew what to expect as a breakdown. Just for example. You don't want to give away all your tricks right in the first minute. And for your build-up, for the build-up to get back to that main drum beat section, this is a song where you don't have like the cymbal crash or the reverse crash or the white noise riser. One thing you could do that might work really well is there's a synth part that's going down, 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 down. With that part, before we get to the main drop, if you could like extend the duration of those notes or put them into a delay or something so that we get a build-up coming from the sound of people tweaking the sounds in the track, you know what I mean? Instead of pasting on a white noise riser. If those notes change from little like short ones to really longer notes, it would send the message of like a build-up happening. And that top melody gets a little distorted. So what I might try is, as you're getting towards the drop, take that top melody and crank it into distortion more and more and more, so we hear it like getting blown out, and then put that into a reverb. So you get this sound of like distortion going up, like, which would hit the same frequency range as a riser, as a white noise riser, but it wouldn't be an actual white noise riser, which makes a great build-up effect. Let's see if I can imagine that right here. So that top sound is getting a little burnt, but tell me if that made sense on those two ideas for sound design. And then 253 coming back in on the beat. Possibly the kick drum could be a little louder. The bass line is like super prominent and the kick drum is sort of in the middle but small. So maybe like a little bit louder with the kick drum. Cool. All right, it's 12:47. This is gonna be the last track for the day. We're gonna enjoy a moment of 1986. This synthwave coming out of this Purple Tiger is just always takes me to that place. And there's such a happy groove on these beats too. So the theme for this week is watch the high frequencies and make sure that your sounds don't stack up to hit too much in the high mids, because a sound by itself might be okay, but when you have 3 or 4 parts that are all touching the mid-range, their high elements could stack up and make too much overall mid-high frequencies that end you up with kind of a ear-piercing thing. So watch out for those. Thanks for watching, everybody. I got to figure out a better way to collect tracks before the stream, because when people are sharing links as I'm live, I can't always get to them, and that takes away from the experience for everybody. So I want to figure out how to do that. But I don't want to just say, maybe I should stop taking tracks during the broadcast and say like, okay, the deadline is 30 minutes before the broadcast, or maybe the deadline is when I start. I don't know. Anybody have any ideas? How would you like it if I said something like, hey, we're starting in 15 minutes, put all your links in this post right now, and then when I start live, I'm not going to accept any more links because we ran out of record today. I got caught with no track, man. The needle is bouncing on the record label. That's bad. That's not good. Taylor wants me to make a spreadsheet. I'm going to get right on that. Yes, we're going to hire an intern to spreadsheet the tracks. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Remember, I'm going to promote this one more time. If you're watching till the very bitter, itty-gritty end, what you want to do is go directly to courses.mixitecture.com. This is the Mixitecture member site. I'm promoting the crap out of it. And in case you missed the announcement at the beginning of August, now I'm doing this full time. I'm not doing any other jobs. I'm doing Mixitecture all the time. I want to make it awesome and great and wonderful. And you can help support by grabbing one of these session lessons. And since I didn't talk about these yet today, down towards the lower end of the member site, there are some really cool instruments that are all about bass and a sound design lesson, like the mono sub bass. Everybody needs one. The acid groove bass is like a 303 where you tweak filters and it's like, so you get a lesson in how to build the instrument, how to use it, and even how to work with it in the mix. So I talk about things like gain staging, frequency range, EQing, limiters, compressors. I talk about that in the context of one instrument to make it really easy to use that instrument in a track, get the most out of it. And the fun part is they're all mapped with macro knobs. I don't know if you can see on the cover, but the instrument is set up with 8 controls on the macros that are the most important controls to make the instrument sound cool. So if you don't know a lot about sound design, you don't have to dive deep into like the parameters and get lost with like what does what or doing experiments. I did all that already and pulled out the most fun stuff onto the 8 macro knobs on the surface. So you can just grab them and tweak them and play with the instrument. You're not going to break the sound. You're not going to get lost and be unable to get it back. And there's a hands-on built-in session lesson that shows you what the instrument's doing. That's a picture of the session lesson. So you go through and you play inside live. It's a guided project. You get audio instructions where I'm talking and I tell you what's going on. I explain the lesson, explain what we're going to do. We hear examples where you hear the difference of A and B, before and after, what the instrument does. But the most fun part is you do examples. I mean, you do activities where you press play, you tweak these knobs, I tell you what to do, what to listen for, what it's going to improve or change to play with, and you actually learn by doing it, making little build-ups, changing the sound around, getting it to fit into your mix. They're super fun, and they are available at courses.mixdetector.com. And these ones I think are just like $29 for the ones on the bottom. So you could grab a bunch of these and have some fun with them. The drum racks are fun. They're all about tweaking drum breaks and stuff. And the bass sounds give you different textures and stuff. Oh, and by the way, the one called Coom Bass is like an 808. Could be a long kick drum, or you could play it with MIDI notes like pitch in a bass line. That's a super fun instrument that I use a lot. So that's all available. Please grab one and help support Mixed Texture so I can keep doing this and you can keep doing what you're doing and we can keep making tracks. This is, I think, one of the best Ableton communities online because we support each other. You give each other feedback, which makes me happy, and I get to hear your music getting better and better every week. We got tracks. We got people coming out with tracks on Beatport and mix sets and EPs and albums. Every week I put out a newsletter with, I'm talking kind of the people on YouTube right now. If you're watching all the way to the end, thank you so much. I send out a newsletter every week with new releases of people who are putting out records after bringing it through track feedback and getting help from the group. So thank you so much to everybody who is giving each other feedback and getting us over that psychological hump to finish a track and put it out there for the world so other DJs can grab it and play it in a mix set and make people happy. That is what it's all about. Ian Waters says, I agree with you on your statement right there, Steve. I'm not sure what statement that is, but I'll just imagine it was one of the good ones. And Tripack, yeah, thanks for hanging out. I think you were back with us in 2017 or something, back at the early days. But that's enough for me. I'm going to go outside, go for a bike ride. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you back on Monday.